Hey everyone, I've been playing Diluc recently and been having a blast, and so decided to make a tier list of all his weapons, at least 4-star and above, and decide once and for all which is the best weapon for Diluc. And with that, let's move on to the video. So firstly, I'm not going to be rating any of the 3-star weapons, as most of these you're not going to be using towards the late game as they fall off quite a bit. However, if I did rate these would probably be, let's say, D tier, and while there are characters who in fact run a 3-star like Barbara with the thrilling tales of the Dragon Slayers, Diluc is definitely not one of these characters, and so that's why I want to keep this list to 4 stars and above. So first up we have the Blackcliff Slasher. Now this is the weapon you get from the shop, and man, what a weapon. Offers a great main stat of crit damage, which is amazing for Diluc, but does have a somewhat mediocre amount of attack, even for 4 stars, and a passive that can be useless if you're fighting a boss or very few enemies. However, the main stat of crit damage is too good to pass, so for this I give it a solid B. Next up we have the Favonius Great sword. Now this has the lowest attack of the claymores. It also has an energy recharge stat, which Diluc doesn't really have any energy problems, so this isn't that good on him. Then the passive generates energy orbs on critical hit. This is pretty nice, but Diluc won't find much use for this, and this is definitely more suited to a support claymore user, and so D tier. Third up we have the Lithic Blade. It's got a decent amount of attack with the main set of attack, which goes up to almost a 42% increase in attack, which is really good. However, the passive is a weird one. It states that it will increase your crit rate and attack depending on which allies are from Leeway, including Diluc. Now, Diluc is from Mondstadt, so that's already a -1, and usually in my parties, the only Leeway characters I run are Shinshu or John Lee. So I don't find much use for this passive. Maybe in the future, if more Leeway characters get released, it could definitely become good. However, at the moment it just doesn't perform nearly as well as the other claymores, but does have a good amount of attack, so C tier. Next we have the prototype Archaic. Probably the best free to play friendly weapon, and a weapon I've used quite a bit. Offers a good amount of attack with a further increase in attack in the main stat. Its passive has a 50% chance to deal AoE damage around the enemy, which can help clear groups of mobs. Now, because this doesn't require any gacha or the shop, as well as the decent stats and passive, I consider this to be one of the better claymores, at least for free to play friendly characters, and so B tier, mainly due to the ease of access to this weapon. Now we have the Rainslasher. Now this has elemental mastery for its stat, which is okay due to how much reactions Diluc triggers. However, it's usually not worth having your weapon stat be there, as you would much rather have attack or crit rate crit damage. The passive isn't that good. Either the enemies won't have hydro or electric status on them for too long because Diluc will trigger a reaction, and so D tier. Next up we have the Royal Greatsword, a shop weapon that has a good amount of attack, the main stat of attack. Now the passive isn't that good, as you're already going to have a decent amount of crit rate, and while more crits are a good thing, compared to other passives it just doesn't perform nearly as well. And also if you crit multiple times then you pretty much have a passive not doing anything. It's also a shop weapon, so maybe out of reach for some players, and so it's a D tier. Now we have the Sacrificial Sword. It boasts a good amount of attack, I believe the highest out of the 4 stars. It's got energy recharge, which is okay, but the interesting thing about this is the passive. Now the passive will have a chance to reset your elemental skill every time you use it, which is really nice. It can help you deal a good amount of damage, so decent C tier. Next up we have the Great Serpent Spine. Now this is a great claymore. It offers crit rate, which combined with Diluc's already high crit rate, you can hit almost 50% without any artifacts. Now that is amazing. The passive is also really good and will increase your damage, not your attack, the longer you stay on the field, which is incredible if you can manage those passive stacks, and I've had great damage with this weapon. Now it is a BP weapon, so it's not accessible to everyone, but definitely give this a try. It's a great weapon, and I feel this is really good, so I'm going to give this a S tier. Now we have the Skyward Pride. This is the first 5-star and a very cool looking weapon. It boasts some of the highest attack in the game, only being outperformed by the Song of Broken Pines, gives a good amount of energy recharge, as well as a decent passive which firstly increases your damage by 8%, which is really good, as increases to damage is always better than increases to attack. The second part of the passive is okay, and then conjures vacuum blades to deal damage. Now I feel that if this had a better main stat rather than energy recharge, it could be really good for Diluc. However, because of this stat, I feel that this is better suited for Ella Claymore users who rely on their burst, think Razor or Noel, and so A tier. Next up we have the Snow Tomb Starsilver. Now this weapon is interesting. It gives a good amount of attack. The main stat increases your physical damage, which on Diluc isn't that good, as most of his damage will come from the reactions, so you won't find much use for this. This is better suited for someone like Eula or Razor. The passive is okay and will summon an Icicle which will deal damage and deal bonus damage if the opponent is affected by Cryo. So maybe on the mount comp this could be alright, however I can't really see it, and so C tier. Now we have the newest Claymore, the Song of Broken Pines, boasting the highest attack in the game at a whopping 741 at rank 90. This is a beast of a Claymore. However, it offers a physical damage bonus, which as I mentioned before isn't that good and is better on other characters. The passive is not bad, giving us more attack, as well as when we have enough of those sigil thingies, we get a further increase to our attack and our attack speed. Now this is an interesting weapon. It's obviously designed for a physical damage dealer like Eula or Razor, but Diluc can find some use for this due to the crazy amount of attack and passive. Now I feel that if this had a better stat for Diluc rather than physical damage, it would be so good. And also while an increase in attack speed is good, we are mainly going to be using our skill and burst with Diluc, so I'd say A tier, maybe S tier. Let's put it in A tier just for now. Now we have the bow. Now this just isn't that good on Diluc. The stat of HP is pretty much useless. The passive, well, it does increase your damage when protected by a shield, which is not bad due to the average attack, the bad stat of HP, as well as the sort of weird passive. It's just not as good as other claymores, and so D tier. Next we have the Whiteblind, which is the other craftable claymore. Again, this just isn't that good on Diluc. This could maybe be okay on someone like Noel, who can make use of the defense stat, but on Diluc it's wasted. The passive is alright in that each attack will increase your attack and defense. However, due to the weird defense stat, this is another D tier on Diluc at least. Now we come to the Unforged, a claymore that's not that talked about, but man is it good. So it boasts the same attack stats as the Wolfs Gravestone, the same main stat of attack as the Wolfs Gravestone, which is really good. Now the passive is an interesting one. So firstly, it increases the shield strength, which is okay, not the greatest thing. However, the second part states that every time you attack the enemy, your attack stat will increase, maxing at 5 stacks, and if you have a shield on, this will be increased by 100%. Now, if you can maintain a shield as well as these stacks, then this can actually outperform the Wolfs Gravestone, as you'll consistently have more attack than the Wolfs Gravestone. However, when the Wolfs Gravestone passive gets activated, it will have way more attack. So the Unforged, you could say, is a little bit more consistent in the Wolfs Gravestone. However, the Wolfs Gravestone definitely has a higher damage ceiling, but also the Unforged requires you to run a shield character, which I mean usually you do run one, usually John Lee, so this isn't much of an issue, but there may be times when you don't want to run one, or you can't for some reason, and so I'm going to give this a S tier rating. Finally, we come to it, the Wolfs Gravestone. Now this is very clearly a S+ weapon. This is currently Diluc's best in slot due to the crazy amount of attack it provides, as well as the passive that again increases his attack, and as long as you can focus on increasing his crit rate, crit damage on his artifacts, this will always come up on top in terms of damage. The passive is really good as it increases the party's attack, which means that when you switch to use their abilities or attack with them, they are going to do increased damage, which is always going to be more more useful compared to the other claymores. They only focus on the user, and while the Unforged can technically be more consistent in terms of damage, due to the Wolfs Gravestone boosting the entire party's attack, I find it more useful, as well as not having to worry about maintaining a shield. Aesthetic wise, I also think it's the coolest looking claymore we have right now, and all in all will probably stay his best in slot until maybe we get a claymore that increases his pyro damage. That's the only way I feel that this could be dethroned. But yeah, so there's my tier list. Now some of these weapons could definitely move up or down a row. Maybe not the Wolfs Gravestone, but the Son of Broken Pines could, maybe the Blackcliff Slasher. But for now, I think this list is fine. But what do you think about this list? Please comment down below how you would rate the claymores. And as always, I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.